Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Maxi Tyken, Michael Kahn, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Melby Styles, Troy Shuker, Bose Nail, Samson, Maris, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Dal West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Maria Neeland, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive, huge thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. I did do a little appeal yesterday as I'd had a bit of a shortfall due to a tax form error or a complete omission on my part, but a few people did actually get in touch via PayPal and send me money, which is extremely appreciated. So thank you very much to all of you who have done that. I have sent you all emails thanking you personally, but I just wanted to do a quick shout out to all of you. You know exactly who you are, who have supported me in the last 24 hours. I really, really appreciate it. With that, I'm going to hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google, so you can enjoy whoever is in there discussing whatever they're discussing while I set up for the next live show.
Rotation. I think that if you involve the other three whimsical bullshit claims, Earth rotation, Earth orbit, and make it sound even more, more foolish, I think, I don't know. It just seems like to me, the more bullshit.
Can you have an orbit without rotation? Rotation would be the antecedent for the orbit, wouldn't be? But we ask about the axial rotation as well as asked.
Right, you talking about orbit, like the geocentric model?
No, the
No,
helios.
I'm talking about George. I'm responding to what George is saying. I mean, how do you have an orbit without rotation? That would be like the geocentric model that is not rotating, but there's still orbit. Sun, moon, stars, everything rotates around the Earth.
Orbit, you say? That's begging the question, my friend.
Well, the sky does move. I mean, we see it.
Yeah, but to call that orbit is a long stretch.
Right. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I mean, I can shine a light on my ceiling and rotate it. Does that mean that the light is orbiting?
No, the problem is that they say that we are also like those lights in the sky. We also have the same movements, so we are also orbiting the sun.
Well, what got my attention was, I think it was either yesterday or the day before, people kept bringing up the Foucault pendulum. The Globers claim Foucault pendulum proves Earth rotation. And I'm thinking, well, what about the other three fucking bullshit fucking speeds?
Well, the thing with the folklore pendulum is it's supposedly measuring gravity, mass attracting mass, in a horizontal path, not vertical.
Well, if you were looking to the pendulum swinging back and forward, if you would even set a tripod camera, you would see the apparent deviation. You would observe this, regardless of what the dominoes are doing. We don't.
Oh, my mistake. My mistake. I was thinking of the Cavendish. I get those two confused sometimes. My apologies.
Yeah, I was wondering where you were going with that.
Excuse me. I don't think that's the best way to go with the other three motions, because the one motion that they're claiming they can measure is the 15 degrees per hour. The other motions you're talking about, and their angular trajectory wouldn't even be 1 degree, like a month. So you wouldn't measure it. I wouldn't even approach it that way. It's a 2 reference frame claim, and hold them to that. Make them demonstrate 2 reference frames.
Nice.
Well,
reference
phrase claim. I like that.
That was nice, actually. What's your take on the Cavendish non-experiment measuring in a horizontal mass attraction, but not vertical?
Well, mathematically,
our claim,
mass
though.
attracts mass.
It's not our claim. We don't claim that.
I didn't say you guys
Mathematically,
claim that.
Yeah.
Why would you have to justify a claim you're not making?
Just asking a question.
Right. What I was going to say is, mathematically, the description of mass attracts mass is incorrect fundamentally.
Right. I agree. But it's funny how they're measuring in a horizontal path, not vertical, right? Isn't gravity a downward vector? Supposedly.
Well, I mean, even if you give them that, there is a downward vector. But we're still not living on a ball, you know? The R
Right.
value in their mass attracts mass is wrong.
Right, because
John, let me
mass
ask you a
don't attract
question.
mass.
John, let me ask you a question. Doesn't gravity
I'm here.
require a radius?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the center
Correct.
of mass. Yeah.
Exactly what I said in chat, and they were not understanding it.
Really?
Yeah, the
What?
center of mass has been debunked. Yeah, the black swan
What?
debunked the center of mass.
Yeah, that's exactly. They were saying the black swan is just an illusion. What they say yesterday in chat? They said it was a mirage. The black swan's been
Wow.
debunked. It's a mirage. And then I said, your gravity, you need a radius for that. Black swan kills that. They said, oh, no, black swan's a mirage. And you don't need a radius for gravity. I'm like, hello, sphere, center of Earth?
Did they claim
you
the
need the
horizon
radius.
was a mirage?
Yeah.
That's troublesome because it's supposed to be constant.
Right. I don't even think they know what mirage means. Or they do,
Well,
they're just
that's
very
obvious.
dishonest.
Well, they don't know what a straight line is anymore. Yeah, they draw these these curves.
We're dealing with anti-flat earthers. That was number one. That I realized right away. They were anti-flat earthers in chat yesterday.
Who brought up the Foucault pendulum?
I'll tell you what, that Napsonaut and that Akumu virus, man, they're some numpties.
He's
I
an
don't really-
anti-flat earther. He's an anti-flat earther. These people are just trolling. They've been here for so long. They know the arguments inside out. They're just trolling.
Right. Yeah, I don't really.
But those two are just seriously just, I mean, I feel bad for them. I literally feel bad for them.
Yeah, sometimes I see them in the chat. I don't even deal with them very often. I do here and there, but now it's get to the point where they're just it's waste of time.
Yeah, because they don't listen.
Anyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Tent.
Yeah, who brought up the Foucault pendulum earlier? I had to drop and rejoin.
Me? Just like 10 minutes ago?
Yeah. So you brought it up,
think-
right? You heard it somewhere?
Well, yeah, that's been the argument I've been seeing the last couple days is Foucault proves Earth rotation, and it's to me, I don't know. To me, it's like an automatic begging the question. I mean,
No. Okay, hang on. That's good. When they say that, say so Earth moves under the pendulum, right? And what would they say?
I don't know. I don't engage with them.
No. Just let's make this for the audience. Are they
They'd
saying
say
the Earth
yes.
moved under the pendulum?
Yeah, they're saying that Earth moves only under certain objects such as a pendulum, a gyro, a filgo kick, and bullets.
Well, if the Earth moves under a pendulum, then the Earth moves under an airplane, a hot air balloon,
Yep.
A field
Yeah,
goal,
no.
everything, right?
Yeah, they're too dense to figure that out, though. They just want to invoke certain, I guess, magical objects that have. I don't know.
No, listen, don't worry. But you're coming in from a commentary of how dense they are. Use it against them by saying if it moves under the pendulum, then it must move under an airplane, a hot air balloon, a drone, and then you kill the argument and they look stupid.
Yeah.
It's still begging the question that Earth has an axis, though. I don't like that.
And they beg the
Yeah, well,
question that the
so is
gas
the black
all
swan. The black
moving with
swan
the
is set
Earth.
up. The black swan argument is set up, giving them their argument as well.
Try again, Rams.
Well, when they say that the gas in the atmosphere is moving with the Earth, then they're suggesting that anything that moves within the gas, within the atmosphere, is essentially still attached.
You know what's funny about that, Rams? Some Globers will actually tell me though, well, it's not accurate. That's not accurate. It's not actually lockstep, so it's not really moving with the Earth. So they double.
Yeah, they claim that only starts spinning at a certain altitude. Because they say, oh, it's not high enough, or whatever nonsense that they assert.
Well, even in their delusions, they don't want to violate the first law.
The air that's tracking with the ground, if you assume it all moves as one, would have to increase velocity as it increases the circumference that it would have to traverse as you go up in elevation. So the higher you go, the wider that circle becomes to track along with the ground beneath it, if you're assuming it's tracking with the sphere. It's in complete contravention, number one, of the claim that Earth turns beneath stuff. So they normally give this rebuttal, anti-flat earthers give this rebuttal when they've had the claim that Earth turns beneath stuff debunked. That would be the claim of Coriolis. When we debunk Coriolis, they start launching into explanations that have Earth and atmosphere moving together in violation of the first law of thermodynamics. John's point always stands. As much as I'd like to think I'm some sort of expert on Coriolis debate when it comes to a globe Earth claim, doesn't change the fact that that is all now useless. And wonderful that I am very pleased with that. You haven't got R. And to make the axial rotation claim on a sphere Earth, you need R.
Exactly. There was this Marta Fox on your chat yesterday claiming that there is a sky vacuum, so the second law of thermodynamics is violated. This is what you get.
What you're saying is the second law, a law of nature, something that describes something that applies always, is bunk on account of the fact that he's got a fundamentalist religious belief in a sky vacuum based on men on trapezes on the television. I see. Wonderful. No, I'm afraid not. It's still a law of nature.
Yeah, it was very frustrating. So at that point, I just removed myself from chat and listened to the show.
Well, it's exactly that. My fundy belief trumps natural law. That's what he's saying. I believe this, and therefore it's above everything else. It doesn't matter if it's a law of nature and it occurs always. That's bunk, because I've got a sky vacuum belief.
It's funny. I asked them, show me a vacuum in nature, and they always point to the sky. Right.
In other words, beg the question, assume their fundamentalist religious supposition in the first instance as true. That's all they can ever do. It's pathetic, but that's what they do, right?
So they point up to the sky where we have air pressure.
Yeah,
Yes,
they
they
point
do.
at the gas we're breathing and say, look, vacuum.
Yeah, they're pointing to they're using a word game where they're pointing at a differential pressure, and they're using it out of context, the word vacuum. I mean, because a vacuum is a differential pressure, they think that, oh, well, all I have to do is point to a differential pressure of any kind, and I've shown a vacuum in nature, and that's not what we're talking about.
Not at all. Not at all.
There's got to be a way of making John quieter and Brian, when he comes, louder. There just isn't. You can't level people up on this. Really.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Neil, John, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good morning.
Yes.
Very good. Can you talk amongst yourselves for a second? I've got a lighting malfunction. I've got to turn them off manually.
Yes, Neil. We'll talk about ourselves.
Yeah, so, yeah, John, go up an octave or so.
Come on, John.
I'm in.
That's just fine. Hey, 10th
So-
mate, can I ask you a question if I may?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so I want to make sure I'm correctly on the stance of the definition. The Coriolis effect, the non-inertial reference frame would be observed from the ground, correctly? If there was indeed one.
Yeah, that's the inertial is when you leave the Earth. Non-inertial is when you're on the Earth.
Right. Okay, I got it. I figured so. Okay, thank you.
That used to confuse me because the Earth's supposed to be spinning.
Right.
Well, just
yeah.
think-
No.
Just because of what the wording, it's inertial, and then they're saying, well, if you're not left the Earth, it's the non-inertial. It's not
Right.
you leaving the Earth. It's a backwards way of saying it.
Not exactly.
Right.
No, exactly. The effect that you're going to be observing and describing, which is the Coriolis force, is something that is apparent, something that you are seeing. Now, to describe the effect accurately, that effect that isn't actually happening, but you're going to be describing it as apparent as you seeing it. So to have it described accurately, you've got to be on a non-inertial reference frame, because you and the reference frame are turning as one, without you being aware of that, to induce the effect that you see. The effect being the apparent deviation. So to describe that apparent deviation, you can only have it described from a reference frame that's non-inertial. i.e. you and the reference frame together are as one. Yeah? So you're not detailing the motion of the platform that's actually moving. You're detailing the seeming curved motion of whatever you're observing in the inertial reference frame. Why? Because you're going to be describing an inertial effect, the Coriolis effect of it curving. So to have that effect of it curving, when really it travels straight, you've got to be describing it from your non-inertial reference frame, just looking at something in the sky and going, wow, doesn't it look like it's drifting? Yeah? For you to have the mate sat next to you going, no, it's us on the roundabout that's actually moving. That's why it looks like it's curving away. It's really us turning beneath. Oh, yeah, I forgot I was turning. I thought I was non-inertial. Well, for the description of the curve you're describing, you are non-inertial. You're part of the reference frame that's moving to induce the effect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. That's why I use the merry-go-round and a drone to explain it. But a lot of globers like to just hand wave and dismiss it. Oh, that doesn't explain it. Oh, because the Earth is the atmosphere is in lockstep and all that. Yeah. So I'm just trying to.
Yeah, but then
clear it
there's
up.
no drift.
Yeah, it does. And if you have a man that's outside of the non-inertial reference, watching the man on the merry-go-round going in circles, he throws out a ball straight out. It has a parabolic flight. He sees different than the others. They just like to hand wave it. Period.
Sure. Coriolis is only observable from the non-inertial reference frame.
Yes.
So you can only see this effect if you're turning beneath stuff. So you must be turning beneath to have this effect. That's Coriolis drift, Coriolis effect, the Coriolis force, whatever you want to call it, Coriolis deviation. They're all the same thing. To have that effect, you must turn beneath stuff. Ergo,
Right.
if we don't see the effect, we are not turning beneath stuff. Now, the globe claim is we see the effect. How do we see the effect again, boys and girls? We'd be turning beneath stuff. Yeah? So we point out stuff that we blatantly are not turning beneath, despite the claim that we are. And then we get into anti-flat Earth rhetoric about how the Earth moves with the atmosphere, to get around the fact that we're not seeing the claimed globe effect of drift. Say it with me, only observable as you turn beneath stuff. So, the way you catch them out is you ask them to detail the effect from a roundabout, which is how the effect is easily detailed. You are watching a hot air balloon from a roundabout. It appears to come towards you and then move away, and then come towards you and then move out away completely. Why? Well, because you're on a bloody roundabout. So it comes into your field of view when it's in the sky, and then as you turn away from it, it goes out of your field of view. Now, is the motion of the hot air balloon actually coming towards you at a rapid pace and then disappearing into the corner of your view and then out of your view completely? Of course not. Just looks that way because you're turning beneath it. So we get our fundamentalist globe-believing zealot defender of the spin that we should see to accept that if we're turning beneath a hot air balloon, we'd see it drift, just like I've described. We all in agreement? We're on a roundabout. We're turning beneath it. We see the Coriolis drift. It's fairly simple. Well, if we've got Coriolis effect on Earth, the exact same thing happens. You look at the hot air balloon, and it seems to drift as you turn beneath it. Well, does that happen? No. Doesn't happen at all. Well, say it with me, kids. That's because we're not turning beneath it. But we claim to be. We claim to be on a turning Earth, turning beneath stuff at 15 degrees an hour. And the effect of that is Coriolis. We just don't see Coriolis drift. Nothing's drifting away. We're not turning beneath anything.
Yeah, because everything that leaves the Earth, you see it drift, right?
Well, merry-go-rounds, they have a measurable radius. Is there a non-inertial reference frame without a measurable radius?
No, you've got to have a measurable radius value to give all the rotational values.
So everything that leaves the Earth, you would see an apparent drift if we were spinning, and we don't. End of story. Coriolis effect is an optical illusion.
Yeah, and for anybody new to this arena, back in 2015, where most of us didn't fully appreciate what Coriolis effect was and how it related to a claim that Earth spins, we had people that would tell us that hurricanes were caused by Coriolis effect. Now, Coriolis can't afford you a spin, an actual spin, in a hurricane, because it's a not actual deflection, observed, say it with me, as you turn beneath stuff. So turning beneath wind doesn't give you an actual hurricane spin direction. The claim is you're turning beneath it. But when you don't understand Coriolis, you'll argue all day with somebody that's telling you, oh yeah, Coriolis causes different directions of spin in hurricanes in the north and south hemisphere, I'm assuming, when I assume I travel antipodal when I go south. So that's what you have to contend with. Now, when someone pulls it apart in a very concise way, like Brian Mullen, and explains that you should be turning beneath stuff that would cause all sorts of havoc if you were trying to land a plane, you'll have people that say you need your job threatening, if you're a surveyor, on account of the fact that you don't understand how Earth and atmosphere move together and conserve momentum. Completely contrary to the actual claim that Earth turns beneath stuff. That's Coriolis effect. But that's what you need to do when it's really obvious we don't have this effect. Having somebody just point it out in a real simplistic way, we don't have Coriolis drift, well, that's not going to go down very well.
Earth is flat, your hot mic in.
So that's any evidence of axial rotation. Was there an objection to this originally? Somebody said, why are we even asking about, was it the pendulum? Forget which thing brought us into this dragged out version of Coriolis drift debunking.
No, I brought up, I
think
heard.
Well, I appreciate it, Nathan. I knew I was accurate on my description and everything. Just Globers like to just hand wave and dismiss and do circular reasoning all the time. So I appreciate the feedback.
If you need a citation, go to Wiki, and on the right-hand side there's a GIF with two vantage points. One from the spinning reference frame that shows a ball curving when thrown straight. The other from the inertial, watching it go straight. So you've got both versions, and it's got two sentences underneath saying that as you observe the ball from the non-inertial spinning reference frame, it appears to drift. As you observe the ball from the inertial reference frame, it travels straight. Really simple.
Mm-hmm. It really is. It is really simple. I just figured I was correct on it. It's just they like to try to get to you.
Did you want to add anything else, 10th?
No, I was just responding to him when he brought up the Foucault pendulum and say if they bring it up, then obviously they're saying that the Earth is turning under the pendulum. So if it's turning under the pendulum, then it must be turning under everything else. But then when they say, well, it only turns under certain things like footballs and pendulums, but not airplanes and drones and hot air balloons, they destroy their own argument there.
Yeah, the effect
They don't like to say the word under.
Yeah, no, they don't, because it means that you'd see the effect, and we don't, and they want to argue about how we don't see this effect that the globe claims we have. That's 15 degrees an hour drift as Earth turns beneath stuff to cause not actual deflection known as Coriolis. We don't see that effect, so they don't want us to highlight that Earth is claimed to turn beneath stuff to see drift. As you turn with it and look at stuff in the air, not attached, drifting away, when actually travelling straight. It's like, oh, okay, well, we definitely notice that on the equator, in quotes, this imaginary line where you claim it's the outside edge of this sphere and it'd have the vast rim velocity of 1,000 miles an hour. So you launch your drone and bloody hell, it's gone away 1,000 miles an hour, that was quick. And your mate next to you nudges you, like on the roundabout example I gave earlier, and says, nah, drones can't fly at 1,000 miles an hour. It's just us turning beneath it on the Earth that spins. That's why it's buggered off at 1,000 miles an hour. Obviously, it's just hovering wherever it was before we started turning away from it 1,000 miles an hour. Said nobody ever. You don't launch a drone on the equator and find that it's got 15 degrees an hour drift, which would translate to 1,000 miles an hour. It's never going to happen. It's never going to be observed. But they still want to claim it under bullets, under footballs, under gyros, under pendulums. They want to claim Earth turns beneath because it's an old claim that's been really screwed up when flights went up. Things that are in the air for vast periods of time really screwed up the claim that Earth's spinning.
Yeah, the jig is up.
We'd definitely notice.
Yep. You're low, Paul.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Are you whispering because you don't want to wake the kids up?
No. I'm just trying to talk. I'll try to speak up louder. With a mechanical gyroscope, you should be able to set your heading, not deviate, fly north, and if you set your airspeed correctly, you should be able to fly north and end up where you started. If Coriolis effect is real, I'm waiting for a pilot to do that.
It can't be done because there is no Earth turn underneath aeroplanes. If there was, a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles would take about an hour and a half because Earth would be turning underneath it. When in reality, that flight takes about 4.5 hours. So, no, Earth definitely not turning underneath aeroplanes.
No, I agree with you. That's what Brian Mullins, if you remember, he actually talked about that, flying north. I know what you're saying, but I mean, this is the way they're going to see. They're not going to argue. The Glover going to argue in that what you're saying. I'm actually arguing it the way they would argue it. And that's why Brian Mullins tried to break down. If you fly north, you should be able to fly at a certain speed and end up where you started and never change your heading on the whatever you call it, the gyroscope.
Yeah,
Well, he doesn't understand conservation of momentum.
Yeah, exactly. Took the words out of my mouth. They want to argue about something that isn't Coriolis. It's like, where did you ever hear the globe claims that when you leave the Earth that turns, you will conserve the momentum of the Earth that turns, and there'll be no effect to observe. You won't notice anything. You're like, all right, how does that prove we're spinning again, other than you assuming that we are when we notice nothing? And they go, well, I've told you 15 degrees an hour of spin that I'm assuming. Yeah. But if there's no effect to observe in this rhetoric that is not globe rhetoric, conservation of momentum? No. The claim that's supposed to prove we spin is Coriolis drift. To reference frame, you observing things drift away from your vantage point as you turn beneath them. What do you mean conserving momentum? Nobody has ever come to me from a globe-believing perspective and said, hey, I can prove Earth spins. Jump up and down. Okay, I did. Jump up and down. Right, I jumped up and down. Did you notice how nothing at all happened? I did, yeah. I just jumped up in the air and landed on the same spot. Well, that proves that Earth is moving at 1,000 miles an hour because we're on the equator, and you travelled with it as it turned. Therefore, you saw nothing. Great proof, huh? It's called conservation of momentum. I've just proved that when you jumped up and down and noticed absolutely nothing happen other than you jumping up and down, that proves that Earth and atmosphere all travelled as one in violation of the first law of thermodynamics, and we've got 1,000 miles an hour in velocity on the edge of a sphere Earth. Great proofs here. And you go, no, that doesn't seem like anything anybody on a sphere would ever claim. You're showing me nothing and making up a great big story that's really difficult to understand and believe. That I'm conserving 1,000 miles an hour of movement when I jump? And I don't notice a sodding thing? Well, okay, that's not really a great proof, see, because you're not showing me anything happen. But meanwhile, I've just read this entry that says that Globe claims that the football drifted through a goal because the Earth turned beneath it, and that snipers have got to track their targets because Earth's going to turn beneath them. But wouldn't that mean that I jumped up and down and the Earth turned beneath me too? Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? That would be a thing that I'd notice to prove I'm spinning. You know, if I drifted away from you when I jumped up and down at whatever rate the Earth's claimed to turn beneath me, it says in this here textbook that's what they do as snipers. They have to worry about Earth turning beneath their bullets. So I'd have to worry about it turning beneath me, not just not notice a damn thing and talk about how I'm conserving an energy that's not proving anything. You know, that's the kind of convoluted gaggle screw of nonsense you have to address if you're dealing with an anti-flat earther who tells you that conservation of momentum, i.e. nothing to see here, proves we spin.
Well, if you can just beg the question of an axis with them, that's really all they want you to do.
Yeah, but when you bring up the continent coming towards them, they tell you, well, that's just silly. And I say, yeah, it is silly because it don't happen. We're not spinning.
Well, you could rebut it without just telling them straight out what they're doing wrong with the doublethink and ask, so if you're not deviating because everything moves in lockstep, then how does that lockstep situation cause hurricanes? I know that's a fallacious question, but
yeah,
in their logic.
That's addressing what is partially now globe rhetoric, but it is within 5 paragraphs of doublespeak on Wiki, where they'll tell you that it's a not actual effect, an illusion, I think is the word they use, only to then detail how this illusion causes things. You know, it's obviously contradictory.
Yeah, the definitions will confuse the heck out of you.
Yeah, and what did calculate?
Based on their train of thinking, if nothing is deviating, then how is that supposed to be causing actual physical deviation then? Reason that out. Ask them to reason that out.
You can spot it because the doublespeak. Like if someone asked any member of the panel here, do you think the Earth is spinning? We'd have one answer, no. If you say that to a baller, they'd say yes, and then their doublespeak would say, but we can't ever spot it or measure it or prove it. So we would just say one thing. We would be very quick to the answer, where they have to say the globe rhetoric, and then when it comes to proving it, they're actually saying what we're saying. Well, we can never see it. We can't prove it. It's marked with an X, but you can't see the geometric horizon. But we know it's there because we know we live on a globe.
I think I can explain it.
Go ahead.
Okay. It's Coriolis effect, also known as Coriolis force. But there's another name that it's known by. Not very many people know it. It's called drift function. It's acting, or it appears to be drifting. It's functioning like a drift, but it's not a drift. No, I'm not saying that right. Sorry.
No, you
I'm
did. You did say that right.
driving forward.
No, that's correct. You just, instead of functions like, appears to drift, looks like it drifts, but doesn't. That's correct.
Right. But on a level of the non-inertial reference frame, when it's as big as the Earth, it turns out there's a magical phenomenon known as drift function collapse. So when a knower is around to see the drift function collapse happens, and it's happening, or it's drifting, but you cannot see it drift.
I see.
That's ridiculous.
Stole my
Or,
word.
alternatively, if detailed by a certain individual, you could say, no, there is no drift. But you can think of it as though there's drift.
Shout out to George Musa. Good morning, guys.
Good
They
morning,
stole my
Chocolate.
function collapse.
Arwin, you have a basis for a lawsuit there because you came up with that.
Yeah, wave function collapse.
Yes, I want royalties now. Nah, just kidding.
I don't think
But it's
if
good
it's no,
that
no.
they
There's no
Darwin
lawsuit.
doesn't know
If it's
about
a variation, we've got obviously curve function collapse, and now we've got drift function collapse. That's not actionable. Be here or be sphere for ball busters, by the way. Shout out to Globe Busters.
Yeah, but you can think it's actionable.
But curve and drift is really the primary drivers of the model, so it's very close. It's obviously inspired, They haven't been
Inspired.
hearing a lot about function collapses recently.
Yeah, there's a good legal word, eh? Inspired by. Yeah, indeed. Not ripped off or stolen. Inspired by. Well put, Arwin.
I think the ballers
Right, so
just
donate to my PayPal, please.
I think the ballers just identify with drift.
Okay, but with the jokes aside, we don't experience it. The reason we've got this very amusing, detailed explanation of how the drift function will collapse if you try and view it, that is to say, we don't see this drift. 15 degrees an hour drift is what Earth's supposed to show you as you turn beneath stuff. The only way you can see this effect is to turn beneath stuff. And we don't see that. So we're not turning beneath stuff. Well, they claim we are. That's what they claim proves we spin. So if we're not, we're not. We're not spinning. We don't see things drift. Simple.
Nathan, you said jokes aside. That's what they actually believe.
Well, I guess I'll have to update Baldwin's rhetoric now. So it's a drift function collapse, I guess.
When I first came into the
I'm
debate,
actually shocked Baldwin didn't know about it.
Yeah, that guy's got that trademark, Darwin.
when I first came to the debate, that was always the claim that Earth is so big that you can't experience these things that say happen, which is a joke to me.
Kind of like, the elephant is so enormous, you just can't see it.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Coriolis effect is something I'm glad we're discussing more and more in a light-hearted way without constant stream of ad hominem interruption and threats to your job, because you haven't accepted that we don't see any effect, nothing to see here, conserving momentum, no drift, you won't notice anything, because we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour and so is the air in violation of first law of thermodynamics. Obviously, have his job. And now it's concise.
You know it's drifting because you don't see it drift.
Yeah, not you know you're moving 1,000 miles an hour with absolutely no effect to show for it, because I assume I'm moving 1,000 miles an hour and I don't see anything to actually demonstrate that effect. That is definitely not the globe claim. Globe claim 15 degrees an hour drift as we turn beneath stuff to see it drift. It just doesn't happen. We don't turn beneath hot air balloons. And when people say, oh, right, your argument that the continent would come to you is ludicrous. Really? So let's just pretend for a moment I've got a drone and a kid's roundabout. And on the one side of the drone, I put England. And on the other side of the on the roundabout, I put down a map of England. I just sellotape it to the roundabout. And on the opposite side, I sellotape a map of Japan. And then I stick my drone on the map of England, spin the roundabout, and launch the drone. What do you think is going to happen? Well, with the drone hovering above the roundabout, the other map with Japan on it will come to the drone without it having to do a damn thing. It just hover. And the roundabout rotates underneath and serves up Japan while it hovers on the roundabout. Now let's move that back over to an Earth that spins. Same effect is going to happen. It's the same effect they're claiming. Coriolis deviation, observable from the ground. So, we launch our drone from the ground and watch it drift away. Just hovering, don't press the sticks anymore, just let it hover. And 1,000 miles an hour it'll drift away at and land in a different country. As the roundabout, that would be a claimed Earth that's spinning beneath it, serves up a different country underneath it. Well, that doesn't happen now, does it? What's that you say, globe-believing now anti-flat Earth zealot? That's ludicrous. No, that just doesn't happen.
Now, that's very easy.
Answer.
Hold on. That's very easy for anybody to understand. So if you can't understand that, I mean, you're an anti-flat earther. That's correct.
Okay. Well, I got a rebuttal to that.
There are two things that should happen if the Earth was what they say it was. If we get off this ball, well, the ball should continue to rotate underneath us, and the things in the sky, which we are told appear to rotate above us, because we're on this ball that we're rotating on, those things should stop rotating or moving. None of those things happen.
There's one problem, though. You know, I bet it's going to be said in general. No. We can't go up high enough to experience the deviation.
No, you can't say that. Nathan broke it down as easy as you can. Yeah, but
I just did.
Nathan put it as easy as ABC. That has to be happening the same way it would happen on a roundabout. You just take that on the Earth now, so that continent should come to you. Plain and simple, but it does not happen.
Yeah, but that roundabout doesn't have outer space vacuum right next to it. You know, so
how high did that football go? I don't think it was that high. Yet somebody was able to do a quick calculation and tell you just how much it went into the field goal because the Earth rotated underneath it. How high was that again?
The football couldn't get up high enough, but Neil definitely got high enough to think that there was Coriolis deviation. So,
right.
But there's definitely an axis, right? Measurable axis.
Sure, not.
But we can't measure it.
No, the results are marked with an X, but we can't ever have seen it to put the X where the X is supposed to be, I guess.
That's all right. The new thing is that the black swan, the horizon is a mirage. That's the new claim now.
that contradicts the definition of mirage.
Well, then how did they ever get the radius if the horizon is a mirage?
They calculated it.
So they didn't measure it.
No. Why would you?
Well, but they told us we can't see it.
Yeah, things are falling apart.
The one they're supposed to have, we can't see. The one, you know, that the same one that blocks boats and buildings and stuff in the distance. We can't see that.
So the physical thing that's supposed to block
we can see a deep angle, but we cannot see it.
The chocolate, the physical thing that's supposed to block physical objects can't be seen?
Nope. According to them, the same people that think it actually exists. And the same people that define it as something that's visible. So apparently it's the non-visible visible demarcation where the land meets the sky. I mean, we can go with that because the definitions of words are meaningless.
Well, you can see the horizon. It's not geometric, but you can still think that it can block things behind it. And that's why things disappear in it.
You know, most of the time when they talk about a celestial sphere and they're talking about degrees, they're using a set value of the horizon to measure with. You can't refract that. That makes it a rubber ruler.
It also makes it non-physical. A sphere edge would be a sphere edge, be a physical limitation to your view, not a refracted limitation to your view, not a refracted blockage that you're going to qualify with feet and inches, because that's not going to give you a value to give you axial rotation. With radians, you're going to need that R value to claim any of this horse crap.
Calculated.
So the proof of their R value has always been the bottom of boats and buildings disappearing. And when that doesn't happen to the geometric limitations of their R, they say, well, we've never seen that place that does that, but it must, because I live on a globe.
You can't visually measure the geometric horizon. Okay, it doesn't work. Can only
It's like the guy who chanted, the earth is not flat, after Nathan destroyed every argument he had. Yeah, but the earth is not flat. Destroyed that argument. But the earth is not flat. They just want their globe. Like a kid, when you take away the binky, cries and cries and cries.
But it's a really nice model. I don't want you to mess it up.
But what's astonishing to me is when the glober realizes he's been lied to, he doesn't care.
It's all about the journey. It's all about experiencing the globe, right? And if reality gets in the way of that experience, you just ignore it and continue the road to experience the globe for as long as you can.
Well, I don't like being lied to, do you?
Well, we all get lied to.
Yeah, but do you like it?
Sometimes.
That's a lie.
Oh, really? Well, yeah, well, it's not a lie. A lot of times when you get lied to, you really like it. It's when you find out it's a lie that's the big bummer.
We call that kiss up. You like hearing your name. You like people extolling your virtues, whether they're real or not. Then you find out that the guy was just saying that to rob you.
Yeah, but at the time it was really nice.
Okay,
my mom told me I was handsome. It broke my heart when I found out it wasn't true.
All right. Yeah. I'm just being nitpicky here. That's all. And basically describing the globe religion. That's what it is. That's what it is like.
Well, that was an invitation from me to someone in chat to come on the show who's a baller and tell us why they don't mind being lied to.
I'm right here.
Take a break, Baldwin.
Look, that guy from yesterday who was extremely nice. Glitch effect. Glitch effect? Yeah, glitch
Hello.
effect. Just start 10th.
What's that?
Whatever you wanted to make an example with, just go ahead.
Well, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were setting up for me. I'm just looking for someone now I'm not looking at chat to see if anyone's there. Is someone in Discord? Is there a baller chatting away? I want to challenge him to come on so we can have a real conversation. We'll point out maybe 2 or 3 things that destroy their globe and prove it to them right now and see if they like being lied to and stay with the lie, or will they realize, hey, I've been lied to. I'm gonna jettison this globe belief. Is there anybody like that?
I mean,
The debate's effectively over.
Hold
I
on,
don't
John.
think they want
Hold
to come
on,
here.
John. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm kind of a baller, but after yesterday, I'm kind of on the fence, and I'm still willing to have a conversation with you.
Oh, great. So Can you speak louder? Or is this? I can barely hear him.
Yeah, sorry, I was sitting a bit far from my mic.
Oh,
I
very
hope this
good.
helps.
Very good. What name do you go by?
Cooper's fine.
Is that slower?
Cooper?
Koopa?
Yeah, like in Mario.
I don't know that. Okay,
Yeah,
Koopa.
kinda.
All right. So, what makes you believe the Earth is has a circumference and it's spinning?
Well, it was always what I was just told, and it's just the usual thing. I just always believed that the flat Earth never really made sense, sort of thing.
Okay. Before we go to flat Earth, the question was, and you answered it. What makes you believe we have a circumference and we're rotating? And you said it was what you've always been told, correct?
Yeah, it's sort of just been a thing. We've always been told this is true, and then
Okay.
it's never really
When you were
seemed
a
to be
kid,
not true.
when you were a kid growing up like me, and they told you Santa Claus was true, but later you found out it was just a story. What did you do about that? Do you still believe Santa Claus is true?
No.
Okay, so if we kind of prove to you now through conversation and your own logic that the globe story is similar to the Santa Claus story, are you willing to, on the basis of the facts that we don't have a circumference and we're not spinning, realize that that's a falsehood, so we can't be living on the ball? Would you be honest enough
Yeah,
to
if
do
you
that?
can. Yeah, if you can show me something or prove it to me that Earth's flat, I'll happily just switch like that.
Well, before we go to the shape of the Earth, if it's flat or not, let's discuss what we're told it is, which is a ball.
Well,
of
let's
a
just give him it because
circumference of
it's
almost
20 seconds out of my day. So go to Google Earth, draw out what's called an elevation profile. It shows the elevation of the land, and you can do it however many thousand miles you like. It's all flat. There's no drop at all. Same goes for Ordnance Surveys maps. It's all measured flat, demonstrated flat, and you can show it with measurements as flat. There you go. Go ahead, 10th.
Yeah. So again, before we go to the shape of the Earth and what the Earth is, from our perspective, because obviously, observably, it's motionless and it's flat. Now it's got valleys and mountains, but when you go into sea level and you see the water, mean sea level, but water's at rest, it's horizontal, flat, straight, whatever you want to call it. So before we go to what the Earth is, you were told it was a sphere with a radius of 3959. Is that right? Because that's what I was told.
Yeah, that's what I was always told.
Okay, so if you have a sphere with a radius of 3959 and you use the math that goes with that, it says that at a 1 foot observer height, the curvature horizon, well, let me ask you that. Do you think the horizon is the beginning of Earth curvature?
Yeah.
Okay, so that horizon that you just agreed to is the beginning of Earth curve. At a 1 foot observer height could be no more than 1.22 miles times the observer's height. So when we can show you an image that horizon is beyond 10 miles, doesn't that destroy the geometry of a radius?
Yeah, I suppose that would if the maths were correct.
Well, the maths are correct because it's the globe maths. It's their math. It's not our math. We're not saying the Earth is a sphere with a radius. They are. And then we say, well, what's the radius? And then they say 3959. So they're the ones giving us the math. Would you at least agree? We're not giving them the numbers. They're giving us their numbers for a globe.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that.
Okay, so if you saw a picture that showed that the horizon was beyond its geometric limitation, wouldn't that be enough proof that Santa Claus isn't real?
Yeah, I think that would be.
All right. Someone got it, or should I post it? Someone talk to him. Will I post it?
I just posted it for him.
Okay.
It's in the
Can you
chat.
see it?
Glitch.
Someone give him a link to the video of BLMSB too, because it's good to see it.
Oh, that's fucking weird. How the hell?
Bingo.
All right, so back to our discussion. If you were told Santa Claus was real and later found out it was just a story to give you goosebumps, and then you say, hey, I was told the globe model was real and this is the radius, but as I'm growing up, people actually believe this is real, but then there's evidence that we're not turning, which it would have to be having rotation, that we don't have a radius that matches the curvature, and I never see curvature. I've never seen it from an airplane. I've been as high as 40,000 feet. Then wouldn't you agree that all the math doesn't prove the Earth has curvature?
Yeah, there's people in chat saying the argument forgets to take refraction into account.
Okay, let's go there. Let's go there. What is refraction?
Hold on. Are you going to make that argument? You're saying someone in chat. You realise that regardless of who you cite, it becomes your argument now. Do you understand the argument before you postulate it? Because if you don't, this isn't going to end well.
I was just going to ask about what refraction is and how it would come into play here. I wasn't going to make the case for it.
Perfect. Do you want to ask?
What is refraction?
What is I'm asking you, what is refraction?
No, he's asking us. That's okay. I'll just answer you. The refraction so handily given to you by anti-flat earthers is called terrestrial refraction, atmospheric refraction, the refraction that a globe has, and that is based on R, in standard form 7/6 of a radius. Now, given that you've just had a lengthy explanation about how radius is acquired by tangent point horizons that aren't there anymore if they're refracted, you can't measure R to apply it to a refracted value, and your refraction has R in it. 7/6 of the radius. That's terrestrial refraction. So if you want to thank the people who told you in chat, thank them and say, where did you get the R for your refraction from, helpful fundy globe believer? Because we've debunked the R that they apply with their refraction. So what's refraction? Your refraction for a globe is based on R, and we've debunked R. You can't measure it anymore to apply it as a refractive value to move the very horizon that you need to measure it to get it. Do you understand?
Yeah, no, I understand.
No, we haven't taken refraction into consideration. We're asking about the geometry, the physicality.
Yeah, the claim of refraction invalidates the claimed measurements.
You can't measure an R value from a refracted horizon. So when they say we're not taking refraction into consideration, well, okay. But by doing so, it means that you're not drawing a straight line to a tangent point. Do you understand how to acquire a tangent, or what a tangent is?
No, I do not.
Straight line. It meets a circle. And the point it meets the circle is a tangent point. So a straight line to a tangent point is how the geometry of a sphere Earth works. That tangent point is the horizon. And to be a tangent point, it must have a straight line to it. For this geometry to function, it requires a tangent. That's a straight line. Now, your friends in chat, your helpful chat friends that aren't here, they've done it via you, yeah? They've told you that the horizon's actually non-physical and refracted when it needs to be physical to measure it with a straight line to it. They're saying that straight line needed to do geometries actually a bent line. Well, by saying they're not taking into account the fact that the line to the horizon's bent, that means the line to the horizon's not a tangent, and you can't do your geometry anymore.
And atmosphere is begging the question.
May as well go over that as well. Atmo means air, sphere is a fundamentalist religious presupposition of Earth's shape. Air sphere, no. Air takes the shape of its container, it's not sphere-shaped. But for atmosphere to be asserted, it's because you're going to have light bending through sphere-shaped air. Atmosphere. Terrestrial refraction. 7/6 of a radius, and you can't measure a radius anymore.
But they'll start claiming that there's other ways to calculate radius, right?
May I continue?
That's what I've heard.
Yes, you may. Sorry, 10th.
Okay, so right now I want to take a pause. And Koopa, right? Am I saying that right, Koopa?
Yeah, that's good enough.
Okay, let's invite those people in chat right now who know the argument for refraction, who think we're wrong about the explanation that Nathan just gave. I want you to personally invite them to come on the show now and debate on the behalf of the globe. And if they don't show up, we know why. Go ahead,
You
invite them.
don't have to do that. Look, that's not your responsibility. You took ownership of that argument and have conceded it upon explanation from us. That's good enough for me. You don't have to drag the people in. You didn't blame them. You conceded. Good. No issue. You don't have to drag them in. Well, that's 10th man's demanding.
All right, I'm just setting a precedent here, though, Nathan, because they love to do this in chat when someone like Koopa has good questions, and we're answering them very succinctly, and then they come in and they throw lies in chat because their refraction is based on R, because it's 7/6 R terrestrial refraction. It's not normal refraction, making people think that people who believe in the flat Earth don't believe there's natural refraction going on. We just don't believe it's based on the 7/6 R terrestrial refraction because you got to have R to begin with.
Sure, it's a valuable lesson though, isn't it? Don't believe everything that you read.
Correct. All right, so Koopa, where are we at so far about Earth curvature and R? Where are you at before we continue?
Yeah, no. What you just said was pretty convincing. I'm probably actually going to switch over to being a flat earther.
Well done. Now let's go to the other one. Do you feel motion and spin and rotation while you stand on this Earth?
Hold on, come
No, I
again.
do
Did you
not.
say I'm considering switching to a flat earther?
He did.
Whatever the hell you said. Yeah, I'm pretty much starting to believe in the flat earth, yeah.
Do your own research, look into it, and you'll come up with the right conclusions.
Well, it's the first time I got to say this without an air of disdain in my voice. Welcome to Flat Earth. The Earth is obviously, observably, navigatably, and measurably flat. You've been deceived. Good that you've coped with it in a way that isn't freaking out or descending into permanent ad homs interruptions. Good for you. It's not, however, a group. It's just your own personal understanding of the nature of the world you're in. It's just that. So my only advice would be it's easy to relinquish one model, one man's model of what the world is, and just find a replacement. Far better to just think, wow, so I don't know what X, Y, and Z actually is then. Maybe I'll be the one to find out.
So Koopa, we got that. You're on a good start. Let's talk about Earth motion. Is that something you also are going to throw out because you don't feel the Earth rotating?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
All right, well, let's take it from yes to no. All right. So if the Earth was rotating...
Hold on. Solar, did you want to add something?
I just wanted to make sure that Glitch understood Nathan's point about not swapping one model for the next and just simply believing for the sake of believing. Did that make sense to you, Glitch?
Yeah, no, that made total sense to me.
Because you must test everything, even what's said in this room, you must go and test. And when you test and you see it is true, then that's how you start to form that discernment. Sorry, 10th.
Yeah, I will let you get back to it, 10th. Shout out to Sasha or Unitox Femi, really appreciate the support. Says, tell him about gas pressure. We did yesterday, but 10th's right in the middle of a point. Thank you very much for the super chat though, Sasha. And, you know, do whatever you like is my advice, as much as you're saying do your own research. Well, do what you think. Try not to abide by other men's models. And in this instance, you've got Flat Earth Solar saying, this is my model, test all things. Immediately after. I appreciate the sentiment though, Solar. I know what you were driving at. I am nitpicking, but, you know, 10th, go ahead.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Even the scriptures tell us to test all things, hold on to that which is true. So absolutely do your own research. But you're within a good group here because we even argue amongst ourselves over the little differential in what we're saying. So
What are you talking about? No, we don't.
Shut up.
Shut up, Neil. And so anyway, my point is this. You realize there's no physical geometric horizon. You realize the Al-Biruni story doesn't make sense. And Al-Biruni at the time, when he measured the dip angle, didn't even know about refraction. So that put aside, let's move on to Earth rotation. So they're saying the Earth is spinning. You and I both agreed that we don't feel this motion. And so if there is no spin to the Earth, that argument goes out the window. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So how would you know there's no spin to the Earth when the ball claim is that the Earth is spinning? If you left the Earth that's spinning under you, should the Earth still spin if you left the Earth? Is that a good, solid question?
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense.
All right. Now, if I told you something was spinning, but it wasn't, and you said, prove to me it's spinning, I say, I can't. Why would you even believe the initial reference that it was spinning? You following what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I'm following what you're saying.
Yeah, so they're telling us it's round, it's got an R, we just proved it doesn't. They're telling us it's round, it's got an R, and it's spinning, and it's not. So 0 for 2 for the ballers, the ones in chat that will never come here, but want to poison your mind with obfuscation techniques.
Well, just before we move on, so the order of events is this guy's come in, asked a few questions. We've given him reasonable answers, hopefully. Follow-ups as well. And then he's had some rebuttals fed to him by chat skanks. And as a result, he's then converted to flat Earth. Thanks, chat skanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. So,
You've been
Koopa, what do you
helpful.
know? Koopa, what do you know about angles? How to achieve an angle?
Not a lot.
All right. Well, takes two straight lines, forms a corner, point, also known as a vertex. And you know what a right angle looks like?
Yeah, I know what a right angle looks like.
Yeah, well, a 45-degree angle.
Is that rhetorical?
That's halfway down the right angle.
Yes, I know what that angle looks like.
Okay. I just want you to envision, it takes straight lines, does it not?
Yeah, it would take some straight lines.
Okay, can you ever achieve an angle with a curved line?
Not to my knowledge.
Very good answer. So you know how a sextant works?
No.
Okay, it's a navigational device that measures degrees of two objects, like the horizon would be one, and a sun, a moon, a star, one of the 64 navigational stars would be the other. And the horizon acts as your baseline, one solid 180 line, no curve. And the other one is you're aiming it through the telescope on the sextant to the sun, let's say, and say it's at 45 degrees in relationship to the horizon. You follow?
I think I'm following, yeah.
Okay, well, that can only work on a flat Earth. So when we look at the horizon through a sextant, that's flat. Has to be flat in order to get an angle. Now, what they've done with that tool is if you go to any sextant videos or navigational videos, they draw a tangent on the globe. And that's when the sextant works, when they draw that tangent. But yet, visually, they're showing you a globe, which it cannot work on a curved surface. Do you see the deception there?
Yeah.
So even the sextant, which works, proves that it could only work on a flat plane. So you've got a tool of navigation that validates the black swan. No radius, no geometric horizon, no started curve. That validates the black swan with an astronavigational tool.
I'm just going to shout out a quick super chat. So Ask Dad Anything says, chat skank is my new favourite term. Thanks, Nathan. It's not mine. I got it from QE. I don't know if he got it from somewhere else, but I'm going to thank QE for that one. But thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it.
So look up a circle of equal altitude and just watch the videos and it'll blow your mind. And my last thing I'll share with you, because I want to give others a chance, and it's almost the end of the show, is how do you think the sunlight is seen on Earth by people? Is it parallel rays or light, or is it diverging? Koopa?
Did anybody understand what he just said?
No, I didn't hear what he said. I asked you a question about
Someone
how
was
you
hot
see
micing.
the sunlight.
It's just somebody with their mic open. I took someone off mute and they were hot micing.
Koopa, how do you
I'm
see
sorry,
with
can you
your
ask your
own
question
eyes?
again?
Yeah, how do you see with your own eyes the sunlight? Is it diverging? Does it come in at angles, or is it parallel?
I've seen it come in at angles and I've seen it come in straight. Like,
Yeah, when you're right under it, it's straight. And if you look from side to side, it's got angles, right?
yeah, sure.
Okay. That destroys the globe model because they say the sun is 93 million miles away and the sunlight must come in parallel for their model to work with the sextant because they take it from the center of the Earth and they need a corresponding angle at the surface that's curved. So when you see sunlight coming in at angles, that destroys the globe model because the sun is much closer. That's why we have diverging rays. Do a little research there as well and really strengthen your new position.
He's taking it really well.
Well, he's a normie. He's a normie who's got good questions and he's not belligerent. He's not vile. He's a good guy.
Luke Cleary from the super chat says an 8-inch drop is always an elevation change. Yeah, and I did hint for, obviously we're directing it at this glitch guy, but it's for the audience's benefit as much as anybody else. Check it out. You know, go and do an elevation profile on Google Earth or get an Ordnance Survey map and check it for yourself. It's all flat. There's no drop. There's no 8 inches per mile curved. It's all measured flat. And they're using it professionally to build things. So what are they doing? Well, they're building on it flat. And that's how you survey it. Now, you'll have some fundies tell you that, no, we've got geodetic surveyors that will actually presuppose the Earth's a sphere, draw out a, quote, tangent plane, and then measure it flat. But they've assumed a globe first, so that's all good. It doesn't change the fact that what you're actually building on and measuring and navigating and observing is flat. That's what the world we experience is, and that's how we deal with it, how we fly on it, how we cope with it on a day-to-day basis. Don't experience, measure, or see any drop. There's no curve, and the horizon is not Earth curve. So it's the end of the line for the globe assertion. There's nowhere to go from here. Earth is obviously and observably flat. Anybody got anything they wanted to round out with specifically?
Just on that super chat, that 8 inches per mile drop is meant to come from the tangent line from where the observer starts the observation. And the actual curvature is not meant to be elevation drop. They say the curve of the Earth is equidistant from the center, and then it just holds that spherical radius.
Any more for any more? There's been quite a few people that have put their 2 pennyworth into this show, so I'm not going to round out immediately. I just want anybody else who's got anything they wanted to add, summaries, before I do. That, and I've got to turn my
you
lights
say
on
8
manually,
inches
so
per
I'm
mile?
hoping someone will fill this dead air.
Yeah. Did you say 8 inches per mile squared? What'd you say? Can you repeat that?
I just said that the
Go on.
ballers used to argue with us that the drop is from a tangent. So where you take your observer and you place him on the top of the ball, then you're meant to draw your tangent line out. And then the 8 inches of drop comes from that tangent line down towards where it meets the circumference of that circle. But the actual circumference of the circle is meant to be equidistant from the center. So the super chat was saying every 8 inch per mile squared drop should be elevation change, but it's actually, in their model, it's not. That curvature is equidistant from the center. That's why in their mind it is a level plane or that level baseline, because it's all equidistant from center. But that 8 inch per mile drop is just from that tangent, that top straight line down to the circumference.
Indeed. And for the guy, just as that was such a good summary, thank you for that. Who was that? I had my Skype over the top of it. Who was talking?
Solar.
Solar, thank you. Excellent summary. But as detailed.
Yeah, thank you.
As detailed, a tangent's going to be required, right? So they're telling you, well, this line that we draw is based on this tangent, straight line. But the chat skanks were telling you that that line is bent. They're telling you that that line is no longer the geometric requirement of a straight line anymore, or it's bent, it's refracted line. That was what the chat skanks fed that glitch guy. Oh no, they're not taking into account refraction. No, we're talking about a line to the tangent point. And when we point out things like 8 inches per mile squared, they'll come back with us at, no, it's measured with tangency. Oh right, so the straight line that's now bent then? Yeah, that's a bad news thing, isn't it? Because according to you, your own line's not straight anymore. That's going to be a massive problem if you're going to try and assert that we should assume a physical obstruction at a tangent point with a straight line to it. Because what do you know? It's being bent now. Yeah, refraction. Yeah, that destroys the geometry. That will be the last word, though. So if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Also, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supply to Octopus Energy, link in the info box below this video. Another massive thank you to all of you who sent me PayPal, so thank you very much indeed. I got considerably more than I was hoping for. I was covering a short deficit that was caused by a balls up, and when you're on a tight budget, a small deficit can be a big problem, but I definitely exceeded what I was hoping to get, so you know exactly who you are. I've sent you all emails. Thank you very much indeed for your support via PayPal. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
And let's test it. What's their claims? Their claim is there's curvature. Well, if there's no curvature, then we're not on the ball. Should be easy.
That wasn't normie responses, though. That kid.
I know. I know. I'm a little skeptical, I must say. I felt like he had a grin on his face. I could be wrong.
No, he's a normie, but again, you're comparing one normie and their traits of who they are, their upbringing, which we don't know, and how they view things, with another normie that might have a little different, basis for how they accept proof and fact. And but he definitely wasn't a baller in the sense of the word, fighting for it, or definitely not an anti-flat earther.
Until Zanuck or Rumpus gets a hold of him and convolutes everything and confuses them to no end.
No, They tried that in chat, and that's why I challenged the person in chat and asked him, Koopa, to invite him. Because Koopa would say, okay, you know this argument better. You believe we're on the globe. Come and talk to 10th Man. But they wouldn't do it.
Cowards.
I was happy to invite him on. I would have loved to talk with him and get his opinion on it, but I guess he just didn't want to.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, that's happened to me. I got a text last night from a friend saying, send me a site to a flat earth scholar. Now, I've never heard of that term, a flat earth scholar. But I think anyone on this panel
should have
would
just sent him.
qualify.
You should have just sent him John's website.
No, I'm just saying.
He's a scholar who also knows the earth is flat.
Yeah, but you're a scholar. You know the arguments. They all know the arguments.
Yeah, but they mean like in the
They want somebody with academia,
That's
right?
No, he's a flat earther.
That's an argument from
flat earth-
authority fallacy.
No, you missed the point. He's a flat earther wanting a flat earth scholar so he can show to his baller friend.
Hold on. Argument from authority. What do you think that fallacy is? Because that's often mistaken for something it isn't. What do you think that is?
It's when someone's like, "Oh, I'm a scientist. I would know this better than you."
That's wrong.
That's academia, right?
That's what I thought it was.
No. If I cite a subject matter expert on a subject that I'm dealing with, that's a perfectly acceptable citation. It's not an appeal to authority to say, here's my subject matter expert in this specific field. An appeal to authority is to say, Mama told me that alligators are angry because they've got all those teeth and no toothbrush. That's an appeal to authority.
Mama said foosball for the devil.
or my company.
The point is,
or my company policy says something like that. Yeah.
The point is, an
Wouldn't
appeal to
that just
authority.
be your authority? Wouldn't
Because they
that
are
still just be your authority as a child? It's your mom, or as a learned person, it might be the professor above you. Isn't that still your authority?
It depends on the circumstances. Yes, they are your authority, but in terms of an appeal to authority fallacy, it is where you go to, let's say you're in the engineering part of the university, and you're learning about how cars are made, and you go to your, let's call him a professor, and you say to the professor, how can you have gas pressure without a container? If the sky was a vacuum, surely the entropy increase would mean we'd all be dead. And the guy says, no, we've got gravity. And you go back to us on this debate and says, my professor said gravity solves that problem. And you go, okay, well, what's your professor a professor in? You go, well, mechanical engineering. And you go, well, what's that got to do with gravity or a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum? That's just an appeal to authority. Because he's in charge of you, you think that he's got all the right answers. Now, meanwhile, an astrophysicist who's a subject matter expert on gravity, someone like, I don't know, George Musa, you grill them and what do you know? They actually know what the rhetoric is. And then you can rattle off a few quotes from them if you've decided to go to the subject matter expert on this horseshit and ask them all about it. And they'll tell you, literally, it's not a force. Well, gravity's not a force, but you can think of it as a force. They'll say things like that because they're a subject matter expert as opposed to just some authority figure you've asked about it. So the fallacy is to just ask your mom and say, well, my mum said she's in authority, she's in charge. Therefore, her answer is correct. Nothing wrong with appealing to a subject matter expert or challenging a subject matter expert. That's when it gets excellent. That's when it gets the most interesting for us. The problem we have is we're just scum. We're the dregs of society. We're flat earthers. So why would it be the case that the almighty Neil deGrasse Tyson, subject matter expert, would come here and when he says, I don't know, to an answer about what gravity is, let's move on, is his next remark, and we say, no, let's not move on. There's a lot of people who come here and call us thickos that tell us it's a force, Mr. Tyson. Obviously, being the subject matter expert you are, you wouldn't risk your career and lie about what gravity is, would you? And what do you think he's going to do? Start telling us that we can think of it as a force, maybe? Yeah, he'll do-si-do and sidestep around it. But at some point, he'll also, like Musa, say literally it's not a force. Because it isn't.
Yeah, the fallacy comes in when it's the authority you're appealing to is not actually an expert in the field that you're talking about.
Exactly.
Perfect sense, thanks. But in terms of like Musa being a subject matter expert, then should his quotes like you can think of it as a force, should that be taken with more merit because he's a subject matter expert?
Let's take it with 100% merit.
Oh, that's one of my favorite quotes. What do you mean? Are you kidding? Oh, yeah.
I just change the intonation in the way it's said. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. Do you see how if I just change the intonation of the exact verbatim quote, it's making it clear that gravity is not a force, but if you want to, you can, I give you permission as George Musa the Almighty, to think of it as a force. Likewise, you can think about your Lexus as a Lamborghini. And I do. I think my Lexus is a Lamborghini when I'm overtaking people. It's not. I like to think of it as one, though. And I've got permission to do so. But it doesn't make it a force. And it doesn't make it a Lamborghini. And getting George Musa's permission to think of it in a way that he said you can think of it also does not make it a force. Another quote from Musa, literally, it's not a force. End quote.
I mean, we do, and we must consider Newtonian gravity as a force. It doesn't really mean it is one, but we don't necessarily have to work at the really is level. With the really is in air quotes.
I love subject matter experts.
So do I.
Me too.
Me too. And it's Kiwi that taught me that.
Never gets old.
Because at first you're like, oh, he's got a PhD. So what he says goes. Oh, well, no. What he says has to be in line with the rhetoric. So therefore you can rip that person clean off the slate. Because, why? Well, because they've got to stick to the actual rhetoric. So if you've got a subject matter expert in the claim that we spin, and you ask them about the Coriolis force, like Tyson did, he has to stick with the rhetoric. Earth turned beneath a football. Hi, Mr. Tyson. Nathan Oakley, BBC News. Did Earth turn beneath the football? Oh, yes, I did a quick calculation, and we observed a drift through the goal. That's what got him the game. It was epic. Really? What about the blimp filming the game, Mr. Tyson? Has that got Earth turning beneath it? Where's he going to go? Oh, well, that's retain the momentum of Earth. Earth stands in violation of the first law, where Earth and atmosphere are moving together. Oh, so Earth and atmosphere moving together, Mr. Tyson. So the ball didn't drift because Earth turned beneath it then? No, he's not going to do that. He's not going to take an anti-flat Earth stance and tell us that we've got conservation of momentum. He's got to stick to the rhetoric. That's why he'll never, ever, ever come here. The people who will are people who are nobodies, who can easily move over one step to a rhetoric that doesn't quite sit in line with the globe to challenge me as a flat earther and just prove me wrong. Hopefully the audience will have lost track that the actual claim is Earth turning beneath a football when it's detailed for, I don't know, 45 minutes that I should understand conservation of momentum. That's what you need. You need dicks at ground level, not the priests, because they have to stick to the story and it's embarrassing when we show how it's wrong.
Did you see the
and then slam them together
with Michio Kaku where he was challenged and he immediately flipped out on that girl?
Oh no.
No.
Do tell.
Where he ended the interview.
I was just gonna say.
He started accusing her of being a 9/11 conspiracy theorist and everything else, but the question wasn't even related to that subject. It's just where he went with it.
I saw that.
Wow, can
Wasn't
anybody
that part
post
of
it?
the principle? Wasn't that part of the principle? One of the outtakes from where they were doing the geocentric documentary called The Principle?
Yes, that was his reaction to that.
Wasn't the principle?
Nathan, I just wanted to
Really?
say on the Coriolis effect thing, what I'm loving to do with these anti-flat earthers is that you ask them, so did the ball drift underneath did the earth drift underneath the ball through the goalpost? Yes. Does the earth drift underneath the blimp that's floating above the stadium? No. Okay, so what if you kick a ball from the blimp? And then you watch the cogs. The ball wants to drift, but the blimp doesn't want.
I had one like that too.
Shoot a sniper from the blimp.
Want to hear my version of exactly the same thing? Does the Earth turn beneath a bullet? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they have to track the target if it's a long distance shot. All right. Does the Earth track with the helicopter? Oh, yeah, Earth tracks with the helicopter. Earth and atmosphere move together. Does Earth turn under a bullet fired from a helicopter? Watch their brain explode.
That's a good one too.
Exactly.
Actually, even I've never heard a Globo claim that there's that Earth turns underneath a bullet, because it just straight up doesn't.
No, they do.
I don't.
Well, if you ever watch a chat feed or look at some comments, you'll see people saying, "Thanks, Bob. 15 degrees an hour drift." Do you ever see that comment?
No, I've never seen that comment.
Okay, well, the gyro, because I'm pretty sure you came in yesterday with a pendulum claim. That's a claim that Earth turns underneath a pendulum. So you say no Glober claims that? I don't. You claimed it. What are you talking about?
And what about the name called
guys, hold on. Knife edge guy, much more important. Hey, hello, guy on the knife edge there. You just said no Glober claims that Earth would turn underneath stuff. That's ludicrous. Now, I appreciate it doesn't mean you suddenly get my support because you've transitioned to flat Earth. But you specifically said that.
No, I said Earth doesn't turn underneath the gyroscope. Wait, hang on. Oh, no, I'm losing it. Earth turns beneath the gyroscope.
Oh, so you are now saying it right now? Sorry,
confused.
mate. Yeah. Literally 2 minutes ago, I know you have said it. You don't have to sort of stammer away around it. Yesterday, you said Earth turned underneath. I thought it was a pendulum that you said, but you're now saying gyro. It doesn't matter. Yeah, that's what you said. Now, I realise that there's been a transition literally on this show, but now you're saying no Glober claims Earth turns beneath stuff. It's ludicrous. But you claimed it. You literally yourself claimed that yesterday and today, literally about 3 minutes ago.
No, I just specified bullet because I've never heard one say specifically about a bullet.
It's in the handbooks.
We've heard that for like 6 years now.
It's in the handbooks. Snipers' handbooks apparently have got a claim that you need to track your target because Earth's going to turn beneath, and they cite Coriolis in the handbooks. So you might not have heard of it, but it's certainly something that they like to dig out and go, look, it's in the handbook. And that's an appeal to authority also. A claim that your entire world moves in a handbook of a sniper. All right, well, obviously, snipers are the authority on the entire world moving at 1,000 miles an hour on the equator. That would be an appeal to authority fallacy.
But you just got the cogs in his brain
that are
to
not
melt.
snipers?
Two people talking at once. Neil, go ahead. Then Flat Earth Solar, I think it was.
What about people like myself? I was practicing years ago with a 22 rifle, and I got to the point where I was hitting a dime off of a crab apple from about maybe 80 feet with the sunlight hitting it.
How long did you say you spent in jail?
No. This was when I was in a trailer upstate, taking care of my life, getting it in order.
Okay,
but I wasn't accounted for no Coriolis.
I was going to say you got an alibi. Your position and movements were accounted for.
What's that?
Your position. You got an alibi. It's a joke.
You're shooting.
It's just a joke,
okay.
Neil. Just joking.
I was just shooting. That's what I'm trying to say. I wasn't accounting for anything.
Well, I would like to point out that snipers do not learn how to shoot guns reading books. That it's all in-field training. I don't know anybody that read a book and learned to fire a gun.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A guy showed me how to do it, and I would practice every day. And I knew I hit the dime when I couldn't find it anymore.
And it was 4 hours of book reading and 4 hours of shooting, right?
No, it was all calculations first, right, Neil? You calculated how much Earth would turn beneath the bullet, right?
Yeah,
8 hours
exactly. I
of book
did
and
all
1
that.
hour of shooting.
Whilst we're on that subject, I haven't got the screen share up for the knife edge gentleman. If the pendulum isn't supposed to be having the Earth rotate underneath it, why would Globers produce a calculation based on its latitude so that you could figure out the rate of rotation? They didn't claim it was rotating underneath the pendulum.
Well, it was a perfect example
Hold
of
on,
what I wanted
hold
to
on,
add earlier.
hold on. That's directed to the Glitch guy. His name's Glitch.
Hey, Glitch, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
I'm just saying, if you were saying that pendulums, there isn't the claim of Earth rotating under pendulums, gyros, etc. I'm a bit confused if that's the case, because why would the ballers produce a calculation for you to be able to work out the rate of rotation based on your latitude?
We'll get your answer,
If they
and then
didn't claim that.
we'll get your answer, and then I'll give you the actual reason why this happens. But go ahead, Cooper.
Yeah, I'm very confused.
Yeah,
I think
that's
you were
fine.
talking to Quack.
No, that's fine. That's a good answer. Very confused is what I kind of hoped you would say. There's a reason for this. It's because, as Adam puts it, globers, now we're going to make this a bit more clear, someone who thinks they live on a globe and follow the priesthood of Neil deGrasse Tyson, etc., with the rhetoric of globe, would assert Earth turns underneath bullets, balls, pendulums, gyros. So that's a globe claim. Now, your statement is, in societal terms, accurate. You said, I've never heard a glober claim that Earth turns beneath stuff in those terms because it's ludicrous. I'm paraphrasing perhaps slightly, but that's the sentiment of what you said. Now, if you remove the word glober and now substitute in the words anti-flat earther, it then makes sense. No anti-flat earther would claim, as the globe does, the Earth turns underneath, because it doesn't happen and is therefore ludicrous. And they argue about conservation of momentum as a result. Because it would be ludicrous to be in the debate and assert Earth turns beneath helicopters, drones, aeroplanes, or you if you jumped up and down. Therefore, an anti-flat earther would never claim Earth turns beneath stuff, because we've proven it doesn't. The globe, however, absolutely does claim, as on screen now by Adam, thank you very much indeed, they do claim on the globe that Earth turns beneath to induce Coriolis effect. So just for brevity, anti-flat earthers will never claim Earth turns beneath. The globe claims Earth turns beneath.
Can I read something to basically accent your point? So
Yeah.
from ThoughtCo, right? What is the Coriolis effect? The Coriolis effect, also known as the Coriolis force, refers to the apparent deflection of objects such as airplanes, wind, missiles, and ocean currents moving in a straight path relative to the Earth's surface. So, moving further in the article, it says the Coriolis effect is, no, not that part. Causes of the Coriolis effect. The main cause of the Coriolis effect is the Earth's rotation. So,
Indeed. Yeah, Earth's claim to turn beneath things to cause them to seem to drift. That's what the globe claims. You'll never hear somebody debate that because it's ludicrous and we don't observe it. That's what we point out. But they're much better off arguing about how we shouldn't see it and hope we don't notice that they're arguing against the globe claim, because obviously they're sat on the globe side, right? No. Now we've got a distinguishing feature that we can highlight for the audience, which is one's an anti-flat earther. They're arguing against not only us and our rebuttal, but also simultaneously actually defying the globe claim in the first instance. And that's an anti-flat earther. They'll never claim the Earth turns beneath to give you Coriolis effect. because it doesn't happen.
Funny.
Yeah, I maybe
it
should
was
have read.
Quack.
It was
Real
Quack who
quick.
said that, not Glitch. Quack,
Yeah.
and then you heard his cogs of the brain turn as he said, "Nothing can turn under," and then he said gyroscope, and realized that that is his positive claim, and had to then backpedal on that statement.
Yes.
Really quick.
Everyone, hold on. Who's the person that keeps saying one more, just one thing? Because Adam's trying to get in, but you can go first, whoever that was, and then Adam.
Okay. Yeah, I should have read like one more sentence. So, as the Earth spins in a counterclockwise direction on its axis, anything flying or flowing over a long distance above its surface is deflected. This occurs because as something moves freely above the Earth's surface, the Earth moves east under the object at a faster speed.
Perfect. I wasn't going to prompt you to get that, but that's the most important bit where the thought co-citation actually says, because Earth's turning beneath it. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, would you just read the first bit where you went to causes of Coriolis? Just reread for me what it said.
You there, Eli? I think he's just run away.
Okay.
Elijah. No,
There it is.
my bad. I just got a call. What'd you say?
Can you reread the bit that's got Coriolis causes? Can you reread that, or are you on the phone right now?
Oh yes, I can read that. So from okay. So the main cause of the Coriolis effect is the Earth's rotation. As the Earth spins in a counterclockwise direction.
That'll do. He's stopping you. Just read it again one more time.
Just the first bit of the sentence.
The main cause of the Coriolis effect is the Earth's rotation.
The main cause. So there are other causes of Coriolis. Earth-based what are the other causes other than the Earth rotating that mean you can make a sentence the main cause? That implies there are other causes of Earth-based Coriolis.
Well, I suppose you could say
Sounds
that
a bit Weasley.
Well, yeah, because I could say that if I'm on a roundabout looking at one of the things they detailed, a missile from a roundabout will take a curved path, and I'm experiencing it from Earth. Although they're saying the main causes of Earth Coriolis, though, aren't they?
Yeah, but in the sentence right
Could it
before
be
that,
optics?
it says the object is not
That also
actually
affecting
moving
your
off
radius.
its course.
Guys, can you hear Chocolate talking?
Yeah, the prior sentence to that though is the object is not actually moving off its course. It only appears to be doing so because the Earth is turning beneath it. Only appears to be doing so. And then we move right on to, but the main cause of the Coriolis effect is the Earth's rotation.
Yo, there's so much juice in this article, right? Because it basically highlights the many ways that the anti-flat earther has decided to go about handling the conversation. So also we ask, well, when a hot air balloon is up in the air for hours on end, why doesn't it land in another spot? Because the Earth is turning underneath. And they reply with, well, that's because the Earth's atmosphere is moving with the Earth. But right here in this article, they say, in the portion that says impacts of the Coriolis effect, some of the most important impacts of the Coriolis effect in terms of geography are the deflection of winds and currents in the ocean. So the first part of that, winds, deflection of winds.
Yeah, Chocolate's going to now point out what happened with Kosho, I think. So go ahead, Chocolate.
Yeah, are those actual wins or apparent wins?
This question was
put to Coriolis effect is just. I
was going to say this question was put to Kosho, and the thought co-citation that we're reading from presently was handed to Chocolate by Kosho, a Globe believer. Now, after reading it, upon being presented with it, which is pretty much what you're expected to do, right? Not everyone does that, shockingly, but Chocolate does. And he came back and said, okay, according to this citation, right, you've got winds, and you've got this detailed explanation of not actual deflection. So, based on this explanation from ThoughtCo, are we going to have winds that are travelling in a straight line and only seeming to curve because we're turning beneath them? And the answer Chocolate got was... Chocolate? The answer was...
Yes, winds 100% move in a straight line.
So they're not in lockstep then?
Well, they're not rotating. So his argument is that hurricanes that you're observing, from a satellite view, if you want to use their terminology, are depicted as actually rotating. Because of the citation that makes it clear that the rotation is Earth in Coriolis, in their example, and the deflection is not actual. Therefore, or ergo, to have the argument make sense for a glober, you've got to be observing a hurricane and go, you know what, that hurricane's actually going straight and it's only looking like it's curving because I'm on an Earth turning beneath it. And he had to say, yeah, that's 100% correct. Winds are travelling in a straight line, only appearing to drift because I turn beneath them. He had to say that that's the case. Now, ladies and gentlemen, do hurricanes move in a straight line?
No, I have an objection. I have an objection, but I'll save it for the conclusion of this point.
Yeah, on the globe, it couldn't possibly, because it'd have to be in rotation with the Earth, like the angle change. It would have to keep up with. It couldn't go straight.
No, stop. You're confusing this effect. Coriolis is a not actual effect. So when you say, oh, it'd have to do this, that, and the other, wrong. Whenever you're detailing Coriolis, it's an effect that you will observe as you turn beneath things. Or to put it another way, the only way to observe this effect is for you to be stood on something rotating, looking with your eyes, describing from your vantage point with your eyeballs what you see seem to happen. Yeah? So, that's what Earth should have. You standing on an Earth that's turning, looking at stuff and going, it looks like it's doing a curved path. It's not actually, it's just me turning beneath. So when it comes to hurricanes, there's absolutely sod all to do with Coriolis effect when it comes to hurricanes. Not actual deflection. What are you talking about? They've got an actual spin, a hurricane. It's nothing to do with you turning beneath it. It's actually spinning. So I'll give you a different example just to make it clear, and then we'll get the objection from John. If you've got an example that's claimed to be Coriolis, and they say, Coriolis is the effect of the swirling water going down the pipe in a different direction, north and south hemisphere. Now, I'm skirt by the begging the question fallacy that is to assume antipodal positioning on a sphere when you say hemisphere, and move straight on to the fact that the Coriolis effect is induced, say it with me, as you turn beneath. Now, as you turn beneath the water going down the drain? No. That makes absolutely no sense when referencing Coriolis. You're talking about an actual spin of water going down a drain, not a apparent spin as you turn beneath it. That would be Coriolis, because you can only observe Coriolis as you turn beneath. So, for the water swirling down the drain to be linked in any way to Coriolis, you would have to be in the water swirling around, making you and the water swirling the non-inertial reference frame. Now, given that you'd obviously noticed that, we'll brush that over and just say, if you're in a whirlpool, swirling and swirling, and you happen to not notice it, you could look up and go, ooh, the trees on the bank look like they're coming towards me. Oh, they're going away. Oh, the tree's coming towards me. Oh, it's going away. Because you wouldn't realise that it's actually you spinning around to induce this effect, say it with me, as you turn beneath the tree in the swirling water. So the only way swirling water or a hurricane can be described as being an effect of Coriolis is if you're in the hurricane spinning around with it, making you part of a non-inertial turning reference frame and describing the effects that you experience as you turn in the hurricane. Therefore, you can describe you turning beneath, or in fact above, a house. Oh no, the house is coming towards me. No, sir, you're actually in a bloody hurricane spinning around. You know, that house is actually cemented into the ground, and you're moving towards it. It just looks like the tree's coming to get you. It looks like the house is coming to get you. It's not. You're moving towards it. So unless you're in a hurricane or swirling down the drain, it's not Coriolis. But the convoluted anti-flat earth rhetoric is to take an effect that's not actual and transpose it, because it's sometimes used the word force in the description to make it something that can do things. It can make water swirl. No, it can't. Coriolis is not actual. It can make hurricane spin. No, it can't. Coriolis is me underneath something looking at it seem to curve. But they've transposed this description, which has the word force in it, to give them a non-effect. We don't see any of this crap. It's not turning underneath. John, you had an
That's why I
objection.
think you got to stress the thing that it's an optical illusion.
It
Sorry,
is,
John.
and it's said that way in the Thought Co. An illusion is the word they use. John, did you say you had an objection?
Yeah, the Coriolis argument is begging the question of an axis, and I think that's one of the reasons they've convoluted a second order argument. You need to measure a radius first before you can really start talking about an axis of any kind.
That's very correct. All of my detailed hyperbole, I smile every time John says that. I'm sitting here while he's saying that thinking this is epic. Because I'm all enthused, right? I've got to get rid of this enthusiasm for talking about Coriolis in detail. Great, I can do it now. That's fantastic. Yeah, none of what I said was useful. Was it? Can you repeat that, please, John?
Yeah.
Well, the Coriolis is like a second order argument, assuming that there is an axis, but you need a radius to have an axis. So we need the radius first.
Everything dies with the black swan.
Yes.
Everything
But
dies.
if you ever want to have fun, ask a Glober, why does a hurricane appear to be rotating from the inertial reference frame? Should get a real fun answer. Enjoy.
That would be the satellite view. If you're looking from their quote-unquote satellite view of a satellite when they of a hurricane, when they say, here's the weather, this is what the hurricane's doing. Well, that view is you in the inertial reference frame in terms of the example. So you're no longer the guy experiencing Coriolis. You're in the reference frame where you see things as they actually happen. Well, from those viewpoints, or from that vantage point above a hurricane, it's got an actual spin direction. So it's like, well, once you're in the inertial reference frame, the Coriolis effect is no longer in effect. You're in the inertial reference frame looking at its actual path. So what's the dealio with it spinning? Good point, Chocolate.
Coriolis has come a long
Pretty
way
much.
since Molly Cyrus.
It has. You're not wrong. 2-hour, 3-hour discussions with Zanuck, with reference frames being bandied back and forth, and an eventual point where I feel confident in my understanding and can argue it, and then got to the point where I can bring it down to 5 or 10 minute discussions, then down to 2 minutes. Now I can stick a detailed Coriolis debunking explaining perfectly the reference frames, inertial and non-inertial, in a 60-second short. And for that, all of it to be made redundant by one sentence every single time I detail it by John, which is epic.
I still do like hearing you debunk Coriolis, but it's kind of begging the question.
There's a nice picture for your debunk on screen, John, now. The circles they're drawing.
All those beautiful circles, Adam.
Open with the first R. And then let's make up another little R to calculate this. But yeah, it all requires that first R. Look.
Yeah, it all requires R, because I was told in chat yesterday that you do not need R to have gravity.
Au contraire. Yes, you do. So,
I agree.
For their AU distance to the sun, it's derived with an R value, is it not?
You've not got this one, John. You've got this with
Yes,
your
that's
M on it.
correct.
Yeah, I was about to say, what do they think the M2 value is in Newtonian, or the M1 value in Einsteinian? That's the.
That's
What do they
R.
think that is?
That's R. That's
Let
what
me
it
get
is.
it
It's R.
exact. The exact thing was R is needed for gravitation, not for gravity. That's what I was told.
Yeah, I was thinking it had to be bendy space time. How you know how to bend space time at what is it, geodesic? You have to have that already for that.
That's a good term, R-rated. Everything is R-rated.
Who would have known the importance of it? What, 2 or 3 or even 4 years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years for me? Who would have realised the importance of that one value, 3959? Who would have known it was so critical to absolutely everything to do with the sphere claim, a sphere belief? Everything hinges on that one value. It is critical to their argument. And once it's gone, same thing applies. Everything about the argument fails. Everything about a globe argument in every respect needs R. And without it, you've got no gravity, you've got no axial rotation, you've got no distance to the sun, you've got no curvature, you've got no horizon. You've got nothing on a globe anymore. Zero. Without R.
Well, the hardcore globers realize it, I think. And the anti-flat earthers realize it, but they don't ever talk about it. But the people that truly believe they're on a globe, believe that there's a radius they can measure.
I think Rumpus knew. I think that's why he was so scared all the time. That once that R is discovered, that it's all over.
He's the one that started that they've never claimed that the horizon was geometric. He did start that very early.
What, lying? Yeah, that's why it doesn't come here anymore. My wife asked me the other day, she's like, Rumpus will come back on and blah, 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 blah. I was like, no, he won't. I've banned him. She's like, why? It's because he kept lying. She's like, he kept lying? Yeah, that's the only reason he's not welcome here anymore.
Oh, that's the funny thing, too. This Marta Fox lady that I was dealing with in chat yesterday on your re-up of the show the day before said that all flat earthers do is lie. It's kind of like projection.
Yeah, they're the king of projectors, mate, aren't they?
They preemptively project.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah. For what they're about to do next, yeah. So they'll call you a liar and then go on and lie.
Yeah.
How could we be lying about pointing out the fact that there's no measurement of Earth curvature, how there's no detection of Earth movement, and how the vacuum of space is a second law of thermodynamics violation? How could we be lying when we're saying
We have to be. We have to be.
that there's no
Because otherwise
scientific
it's
evidence
true,
for gravity?
isn't it?
Hold on, let Adam give his answer. 'Cause
We're
it's
not
spot
lying
on.
about
Hold on,
that.
hold on. I want to hear Adam say it concisely because he's spot on. Say it again, Adam.
It has to be that we're lying. Otherwise, yeah, they have to accept the truth that there is no evidence there. So, you can either do one of two things. You can either go and look and confirm there is no evidence, or you can switch that little switch in your head, the cog this head, and say, you're a liar. And that's how you can deal with the pain, by vilifying me as a liar.
And
Yeah,
it's
the guy-
painful.
Right,
'Cause
or-
I've seen that pain in my face. It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah. The guy did it yesterday, right? That's this again part of the anti-flat Earth breeding. So when I say to a anti-flat earther, this isn't how we see the world, he says, wrong, it is how we see the world, because he's bracing against me, and an acceptance of what I say is essentially admitting defeat. So he has to cognitively brace against what I say. Now, it makes no difference that he himself will say in pretty much identical terminology, I can't represent how I saw this observation, therefore I'll represent it in this different way that isn't the way I saw it. He can say those things to me, and me say, that's what I said, but you disagreed with me when I said it, but for you it's a justification for presenting something that isn't how we see the world. So in his mind, anti-flat earther that is, he's got to brace against my rebuttal, even though he's saying the exact same thing. The problem is that when I say it, his worldview ends. When he says it, it's a justification, it's perfectly reasonable, because he's on a globe.
Right, he can't be caught agreeing with a flat earther being right.
That was painful yesterday.
Well, he said the argument wrong too. Like he was not doing it well.
Right, but it becomes more about who is saying what rather than what is correct and what is not, right? Because Nathan already said it. He can say it about his standpoint as much as he likes. It's no issue. But if Nathan said it to him in a part of the argument, then it is an issue because you, as a baller, as an anti-flat earther, you can't be caught in a conversation with a flat earther being right about something in that moment. You have to interrupt it. You have to move it on. You have to deflect it.
Was he trying to say that this is what he was seeing with his eyes?
What he should have
showing
said.
us from outside of himself?
What he should have said is it is an objective explanation of the geometry we experience in our subjectively. But that's where the black swan destroys that because it's a geometric claim.
Sorry, you saying you should have convoluted the subjective and objective nature of his 2D diagram versus the 3D reality he experienced, and hopes that in the process of convoluting his version of that was to say it represents it. That's the word he chose to basically decipher what you've said in a more it's just a representation. Yeah, that's my argument. It's not what we see then. You're representing what we see in 2D. That's my point. When I say it, no, flat earther, wrong, talking shit. That was his response. When he says it, I can't see the world in this way, so I've got to put it in this way that I don't see it. It's 2D, and I don't see in 2D, I see in 3D. For him, that's all good. Yeah? But not what is capable of being seen when you've got a geometric horizon claimed to be blocking light from a lighthouse. It's like, no, this side profile view isn't the way we experience the world, but you need it to be the way we actually experience the world, so that you can claim the horizon's a sphere edge. And we've debunked R. So you've got no claim of horizons being physical anymore, but that's precisely what that dude did. And 60 attempts of me saying, yeah, the depiction you've given us isn't the way we see the world. And I believe 3 repetitions from him saying, this diagram isn't the way we see the world. He still wouldn't accept that it wasn't the way we see the world.
And don't forget chocolate. Don't forget chocolate had some too. So there's probably about 70 or 80 renditions.
I think it was 60 total. I was counting them off. I like counting them off. How many times can a stupid idiot assert the same thing and have it proven wrong? Well, in that case, about 55, 56 from me, a few from chocolate, and 2 or 3 from himself. Which is the best bit when they say it. This isn't what we actually see. I couldn't do that. Yeah, that's my point.
When you said to get this view, you would have to detach yourself from your body, I thought it would click right there. So I think he knew exactly what he was doing.
He must have done, because it was Rumpus's work. He was presenting the perspective hijacking, proof of nothing, Earth curve, right? Every effect that he saw, he represented in his diagram, not being able to see something, being able to see something as an effect of Earth curvature. That's what that's why he drew it like that, because that was his explanation. The reason he was not able to see this, able to see this, was because of physical Earth curve blocking it. Not that's how he saw it, but that's why he drew that picture, because of his assumptions. That's all he did. And he only applied some of his knowledge of translating optics into his Muppet vision diagram. Very selective. Like I said, all he selected was to interpret restriction as curvature.
So Adam, if we hang on. So Adam, if we show them the black swan and the second oil platform over 9.41 miles, and then he saw the horizon beyond that, he would have to say, well, Earth's curvature happens beyond the horizon. It's not happening prior to the second oil platform if he's going to be consistent, would he not?
Well, the black swan would completely destroy that diagram, wouldn't it? Instead of that being a curve, that black swan demonstrates that certainly over those 10 miles, it's flat and straight and applies to perspective. There's no curve in there.
Just for the audience's benefit, on screen now is the rebuttal to the black swan depiction in Muppet Vision. So you've got a side profile, view of your own head, and then a tangent which would be used for the earth curve geometry to the earth curve edge that's going to block the two little diamond shapes. Well, those would be platform hill house and platform habitat. Now the rebuttal is the curved line on top, which wouldn't be utilizable as a geometric tangent to a tangent point to physically block them. And what's that you say? Well, we see beyond it. We see the horizon behind them. Therefore, the line to the horizon's bent, imploding the geometry of a sphere radius 3959.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. Is the reason the Earth curve calculator was so successful is because the claim was that you didn't need perspective. You were doing geometry.
Exactly.
You didn't have to worry about anything else. You were just doing geometry.
Oh, I see.
And that's correct. That is correct if you're going to translate the Muppet Vision diagram to reality where you take straight lines, yeah, and they are straight lines. But again, as you point out, there's no effect for perspective taken in there. And yes, the geometry is important, but also within that geometry, optics play a part because we're not measuring it, we're looking at it.
Perfect. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premium streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, smashing the PayPal link, or joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!